I was forced to the ground. First on my knees, and then flat on my chest. And as I was handcuffed and marched down a hallway, repeatedly asking, why am I being detained?
Spokesperson, just so that Elon Musk doesn't put out tweets that then confuse federal workers.
Are my press briefings not good enough for you, Jackie?
You're gonna see some young faces in the next Trump administration. The president-elect announced his press secretary is going to be Karoline. She is just 27 years old. She was a press secretary for his campaign. She was a fierce fighter and defender of his, both on the airwaves, going on all the different shows, and behind the scenes working with the press. So no surprise that he picked her. She was also a super young candidate not so long ago. In the 2022 midterms, she ran for Congress in her home state of New Hampshire. She did not succeed and then went on to work for the Trump campaign. And she's part of that new generation that was actually a big reason why Trump won the election. He won the youth vote by a way bigger margin than most Republicans have in recent years. And now he's bringing those new faces into his next administration.
Now, before I take questions, I would like to address an extremely dishonest narrative that we've seen emerging over the past few days. Many outlets in this room have been fear-mongering the American people into believing there is a constitutional crisis taking place here at the White House. I've been hearing those words a lot lately. But in fact, the real constitutional crisis is taking place within our judicial branch, where district court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority. Sure.
So U.S. consumer confidence fell this month, the most since August of 2021. What is your message for Americans who are concerned about the impact of things such as tariffs on prices?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for that question. It's obviously an important one. The president campaigned on reigniting the Trump economy and fixing the mess that was created by the previous administration in this country, and they must be held accountable.
And something different. There is now a member of the European Parliament from France who does not think the U.S. represents the values of the Statue of Liberty anymore. They want the Statue of Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So the United States asked that. Mary.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. I wanted to ask about this video that I saw this morning set to the tune of, I believe, Closing Time, about deportations of illegal migrants. What's the strategy behind the White House's videos they've been putting out on this, and can you kind of talk us through the thinking on these videos?
Sure. We are unafraid to message effectively what the president is doing on a daily basis to make our communities safer. And the specific video you referenced, I think it sums up our immigration policy pretty well. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Go ahead. Without his consent or knowledge. And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the president of the United States autograph without his consent.
Biden is on the record talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden White House.
Is there any evidence on that he wasn't aware of?
You're a reporter. You should find. To the woman in the purple, because I saw you were making a face at my previous answer. So what's going on?
Well, actually, I have a couple of questions. At the core of pro-Palestinian protests on college campuses and elsewhere is a demand to end the war in Gaza, a goal that this administration actually supports and has pursued. So why has this not been acknowledged or highlighted even?
Because these colleges in these protests have again put out Hamas propaganda. The only reason Democrats have changed their minds on Tesla is because Elon Musk changed his mind on Donald Trump. That's the bottom line. I know AOC, for instance, used to drive a Tesla. I'm not sure if she still does. If she still does, it's because she knows it's a great American-made product. And that's why President Trump was proud to review some of those models at the White House yesterday. He ultimately went with the red sports model. It's actually sitting at West Exec right here at the White House now. But as you said, the president purchased the Cybertruck for his granddaughter, which is a very nice gesture. He campaigned on no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security benefits. He is committed to all three of those things, and he expects Congress to pass them later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
They
don't get charged on foreign companies, they get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you are trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press. Past 4 years, we've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis in this country, and it's incumbent upon this administration to make sure, again, that every penny is being accounted for honestly.
Why impose this pause with so little notice? Why not give organizations more time to plan for the fact that they are about to lose, in some cases, really crucial federal funding, at least for a period of time?
There was notice. It was the executive order that the president signed. There's also a freeze on hiring, as you know, a regulatory freeze, and there's also a freeze on foreign aid. And this is, again, incredibly important to ensure that this administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working. And their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. You know, just during this pause, DOGE and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOGE and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that...
Are any officials here preparing to fight Democratic lawmakers in the streets?
Absolutely not.
So some of these,
thanks for the question.
Some elected Democrats are so steamed about DOGE. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver says we are at war. Ilhan Omar says we might actually see somebody get killed. And Chris Van Hollen says we have to fight this in the Congress. We have to fight this in the streets. So what now?
And may I just point out, if you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here, and for Democrat officials to incite violence and encourage Americans to take to the streets is incredibly alarming, and they should be held accountable for that rhetoric.
It sounds like something that they're most concerned about is DOGE engineers with access to Treasury systems. Can you clarify, do the DOGE engineers have read-only access in these systems, so they are not allowed to write new code? They are.
Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
Can you kind of point at the worst first? They all have a criminal record?
And welcome to the briefing
If they broke our nation's laws, yes, they are a criminal, yes.
Snoop Dogg.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever this video finds you. Welcome to Ticks, What's Poppin' Replay Gang. So this just came down the pipe while the intro was playing. And I know I have the long intro because I be trying to get busy. I be getting everything together. So the intros are long because I got to get my lights together. I be forgetting my mic sometimes. It be sitting way over here and off like this. I be forgetting, but I'm here. I'm ready to go, and this just came down the pipe. So Trump's Justice Department issues directive to strip naturalized Americans of citizenship for criminal offenses. The Trump administration has codified its efforts to strip some Americans of their citizenship in a recently published Justice Department memo that directs attorneys to prioritize denaturalization for naturalized citizens who commit certain crimes. The memo, published on June 11th, today's the 30th, okay, calls on attorneys in the department to institute civil proceedings to revoke a person's United States citizenship if an individual either illegally procured naturalization or procured naturalization by concealment of a material fact or by willful misrepresentation. The center of the move are the estimated 25 million U.S. citizens who immigrated to the country after being born abroad, according to data from 2023, and it lists 10 different priority categories for denaturalization. According to the memo, those subjected to civil proceedings are not entitled to an attorney like they are in criminal cases, and the government has a lighter burden of proof in civil cases than they do in criminal ones. I know. Let me drink some of this kombucha because my mind is like I'm laughing. I'm thinking you got the guy running for mayor in New York, that guy who lied on his form. You've got Ilhan Omar, who lied on her form when she married her brother. You got that chick out in Massachusetts, in Boston, that was doing all that hollering about racism, only to find out she was stealing taxpayer money, hiring her brother and sister for kickbacks. Oh my God, yeah, woo. You know, and you need to get, and let's be honest, you also got some of those Democrats out in California who were calling them gang members to fight ICE and everything. You're not a naturalized, you're a naturalized citizen. You're not a birthright citizen. We gave you citizenship. And after you pass your probationary period, all of a sudden now you want to nut up and wave Mexican flags and all of this stuff and be quite un-American. Yeah, you're done. You're done. The memo claims such efforts will focus on those who are involved in the commission of war crimes, extrajudicial killings, or other serious human rights abuses, and naturalized criminals, gang members, or indeed any individuals convicted of crimes who pose an ongoing threat to the U.S. The directive gives Justice Department attorneys wider discretion on when to pursue denaturalization, including in instances of lying on immigration forms, cases where there is financial fraud or medical fraud against the U.S. or against private individuals, in cases referred by a U.S. Attorney's Office or in connection with pending criminal charges. Bye, 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 bye. The Justice Department's Civil Rights Division has been placed at the forefront of Trump's policy objectives, including ending diversity, equity, and inclusion programs within the government, as well as ending transgender treatments, among other initiatives. That comes as the U.S.'s Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, ICE, registered its 13th in-custody death for the fiscal year beginning in October 2024. There have been 12 such deaths during the entire fiscal year that finished at the end of September of 2024. On Friday, Jim Ryan, president of the University of Virginia, resigned amid an investigation by the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. Sorry, this kombucha. If you are familiar with this stuff is tart and it's bubbly. Okay. The investigation took aim at the university's DEI programs and is continuing to consider race and ethnicity in various programs and scholarships. The Justice Department also took the unusual step in recent days of suing 15 U.S. district attorneys in Maryland over an order blocking the immediate deportation of migrants challenging their removal. The Justice Department's Civil Rights Division is reportedly in disarray as its traditional mission to combat racial discrimination after the Civil Rights Movement is reshaped by priorities stemming from the president's executive orders. About 250 attorneys, or 70% of the division's lawyers, were believed to have left the department in the time between January and the end of May, according to a recent National Public NPR report. The memo's focus on denaturalization comes as at least one person has been denaturalized in recent weeks. Let's see. On June 13th, a judge ordered the revocation of the citizenship of Elliot Duke. Duke is a U.S. military veteran originally from the UK who was convicted for distributing child sexual abuse material and had not disclosed the crime during the naturalization process. Immigration attorneys are concerned that denaturalization cases via civil litigation strip some rights from the individual, including rights to an attorney, as well as lowering the threshold of proof and speeding up the denaturalization process. It is kind of, in a way, trying to create a second class of U.S. citizens, says Samira Hafiz, policy director of the Immigration Legal Resource Center, to NPR. Well, you are a second-class citizen. You're not a natural-born citizen. So yes, you are a second-class citizen. You can be stripped of your citizenship. I don't understand the problem. Don't commit the crime if you can't do the time. So let's get into this. All right. So let's see. Get into our girl Karoline. We've got a few other things to get into too.
Did everyone have a good weekend?
Yes, we did.
It's good to see you back here. We have another busy week. On a scheduling note, tomorrow, President Trump will travel to the great state of Florida to attend the opening of a new illegal alien detention center located at Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport, alongside Secretary Kristi Noem, Governor Ron DeSantis, Congressman Byron Donalds, and other state and local leaders. We hope to see many of you there. The facility is in the heart of the Everglades and will be informally known as Alligator Alcatraz. There is only one road leading in, and the only way out is a one-way flight. It is isolated and surrounded by dangerous wildlife and unforgiving terrain. The facility will have up to 5,000 beds to house, process, and deport criminal illegal aliens. This is an efficient and low-cost way to help carry out the largest mass deportation campaign in American history. We are truly coming off a historic week of President Trump racking up win after win on behalf of the American people. President Trump restored peace through strength and acted decisively as commander-in-chief to obliterate the immediate threat of the Iranian regime's nuclear capabilities, and then brokered a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, which continues to hold. Then, the president traveled to the Netherlands and achieved a monumental win for the United States and the NATO alliance by getting our allies to dedicate 5% of their GDPs to military spending. As a result of President Trump unleashing American energy dominance, summer gas prices are at the lowest they have been in 4 years, heading into the July 4th week. And with the incoming Trump economic boom, the stock market continues to roar back, with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ both hitting record highs. And on this point of an economic boom, I bring to you original correspondence from the President of the United States to our Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, as the President has consistently stated The American economy is booming, and there were so many economic analysts who said that this president's policies would drive our economy down, when in fact we have seen the opposite. We've seen a massive deregulation campaign take place. We've seen inflation completely diminished from where it was under the reckless spending and the bad policies of the previous incompetent administration. I would remind the Fed chair, and I would remind the entire world, that this is a president who was a businessman first, and he knows what he is doing. He has a proven economic formula that worked in his first term as president, and it is working again. The one problem that remains is high interest rates for the American people. The American people want to borrow money cheaply, and they should be able to do that. But unfortunately, we have interest rates that are still too high. So the president sent this note to the Fed chair today. And if you look at this chart, this is a chart of all of the interest rates of many countries throughout the world. At the top is Switzerland. They're only paying a quarter for interest rates. Cambodia, Japan, Denmark, Thailand, Botswana, Barbados, Taiwan, Bulgaria, Cuba, Sweden, Morocco, Cabo Verde, South Korea, Algeria, Canada, Albania, Libya, Malaysia, China, New Zealand, Trinidad and Tobago, Czechia, Bolivia, Australia, Costa Rica, the Bahamas, Kuwait, Papua New Guinea, Bosnia, United Kingdom, and the UAE are all paying lower interest rates than the United States of America, which has one of the hottest and strongest economies in the world. The president sent this note to the Fed chair. It says, Jerome, you are as usual too late. You have cost the USA a fortune and continue to do so. You should lower the rate by a lot. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being lost, and there is no inflation. And the president is right. There is historically low inflation thanks to his policies. And we will continue to drive down the cost of living in this country for Americans. We will continue to deregulate. And it's also incredibly important that we pass this one big, beautiful bill, which is the largest tax cuts in American history. And that's why the White House and the president himself have been in touch with lawmakers all weekend long to get this bill passed. And they are working very hard to do so. It remains a top priority for the president. And this bill has exposed the clear differences between Republicans and Democrats in 2025. The Democrats are doubling down on craziness and radical policies that are undermining the very fabric of our country. Just look at the Democrat nominee for New York City Mayor, Zohran Mamdani. He's a Democrat socialist, really a communist, who proudly calls to defund the police, peddles anti-Semitism, praises pro-Hamas groups, wants Israel abolished, and believes wealthy Americans should not exist. Those are his words, just as recent as this weekend. Meanwhile, under President Trump's leadership, Republicans are fighting tirelessly for everyday middle-class working Americans who re-elected this president. And we're carrying out a revolution of common sense. And all of that is packed into this one big, beautiful bill. It delivers the largest middle and working class tax cuts in U.S. history. It keeps America safe by funding the largest ever one-time investment in border security. It's enough to reverse the Biden border invasion. And every single Democrat is against that, against securing our border and deporting millions of criminal illegal aliens. The one big beautiful bill also strengthens and protects Medicaid benefits, despite what Democrats are saying, for eligible American citizens who rely on it, like pregnant women, children, seniors, and people with disabilities, by eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse that threaten to destroy this program that was intended for the most vulnerable in our society. And every single Democrat in Congress is against rooting out that waste, fraud, and abuse and blocking the 1.4 million illegal aliens who are currently improperly receiving these benefits that should be going to American tax-paying citizens. The Democrats in Congress are more concerned with defending illegal aliens than they are hardworking Americans. And the big beautiful bill also revitalizes our military and enhances our defense capabilities, protects our country from emerging new threats by funding a cutting-edge missile defense system called the Golden Dome. And as we all know, the one big beautiful bill makes the Trump tax cuts permanent. The White House and the president are adamant that this bill is passed and that this bill makes its way to his desk. Republicans need to stay tough and unified during the home stretch, and we are counting on them to get the job done. So with that, we will take up questions. John Fredericks is in our new media seat today. John, thanks for being here. We'll kick it to you.
Thank you, Caroline. Let's get to the one big beautiful bill first. It
Sure.
appears now you're going to get at least 50 votes in the Senate. There'll be some amendments. What is the president's confidence level in getting 218 votes in the House? by the end of this week in order for him to sign it on Friday?
Well, look, we are very well aware, the president is very well aware, that this bill needs to not only pass out of the Senate, but it needs to go back to the House. And we need the full weight of the Republican conference to get behind this bill. And we expect them to, and we are confident that they will. The president has been working hand in hand with Senate Majority Leader Thune and also our House Republican leader, or the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, both of whom will be at the White House today to meet with the president yet again. I believe they were here this morning, actually.
I have one follow-up.
Sure.
You outlined Jerome Powell and the note that the president just sent to him. There are many who believe that Powell has been politicized in a lot of different ways. The president has not been shy about acting on things that he believes in. Why not just fire Jerome Powell and put in somebody that is going to lower rates? Why wait?
Well, it's a good question and one you can ask the president because that's a decision for him to make. But you're right to point out the politicization of the Fed, and it's very unfortunate for our country. But Jerome Powell cut rates numerous times ahead of the election when Joe Biden was in this Oval Office, but now he refuses to, and the economy is in a much better place. So there really isn't a good explanation for that, and the president is rightfully calling attention to it.
God damn it. So he is a TDSer, Trump derangement syndromer. Because, I mean, if you're doing it for Biden, you're sitting up here giving him all the sloppy toppy in order to try to help Kamala or whatnot in the election. But you won't do it now that the economy is like looking beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, you got a problem. He should fire him. I don't know why. I mean, you're already cussing him out and calling him a stupid person in the media. So why are you trying to let his contract run out? What's going on, Carlton? Why are you letting this contract run out?
Kelly.
Good afternoon. On Iran, the president posted on his social that he is not even talking to them anymore. When we were at NATO, he said he expected the U.S. and Iran to have talks.
All right, hold on. All right, so let's do a quick room sweep. All right, so here's the California cutie. She back in her spot. All right. Okay, here's the old girl that never could get her shoe game right. So the last two times we've seen her in the front row, yeah, okay, so she's gotten her shoe game together. Okay, here's America's favorite idiot reporter. Let's see here. All right, so y'all be worried about color. So let's do the color count. All right, so here's a brother here. All right, let's see here. Second, third row. Let's see here. Fourth row. There's a brother there. All right. Fourth row, fifth row, sixth row. Okay, there's a sister there that asked that stupid. She asked a stupid question. I remember her. Let's see here. There's a sister here. This looks like a sister back here. Here's the sister right here. It looks like we got a black cameraman there. Okay, that's all we can see. All right, let's get it together. Okay, you got Steve Ducey. He's here. Got some colorful socks. All right, so let's get back to the question. She was talking about Iran. Let's go.
As early as this week, and that he might even want to see a written agreement. What is the update now if he's saying he's not even talking?
So as I told you from the podium last week, I said the administration, and namely our special envoy, Steve Witkoff, has been in communication both directly and indirectly with the Iranians. That communication continues. The president himself has not talked to Iran, which he pointed out in his truth statement. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. Does President Trump want Zohran Mamdani deported?
I haven't heard him say that. I haven't heard him call for that. But certainly he does not want this individual to be elected. I was just speaking to him about it and his radical policies that will completely crush New York City, which is obviously a city that the president holds near and dear to his heart.
There's this conversation.
All right, so as I read at the opening of the show, how they can now get rid of these people that have been naturalized citizens. They can now denaturalize them. Here's my issue, and this has been bugging me for the past 2 weeks, but mainly a lot this week, as of last Monday, is Pam Bondi. She is pissing me the fuck off. And I don't know if it's her or if it's because Trump's not giving her the go-ahead, the green light, or whatever, but I am sick and tired of seeing Democrat leaders like that Cynthia Gonzalez chick calling for gang members to attack ICE, defend their territory. Chick, that's not their territory. That's U.S. territory. Those guys own absolutely nothing. It's like Crips and Bloods. Even Crips and Bloods know us as black. Even we know that's not our territory. That's U.S. territory. We own nothing. If all of a sudden the police show up, brothers scatter like roaches. If the military, National Guard show up, we scatter like roaches. We lay low. The block is hot. We need to calm it down because we own nothing. They can kick indoors and start searching and seizing whenever they want to because we don't own it. It's theirs. It's theirs. Is it U.S. soil? Yes. Then it's U.S. territory. You own nothing. But the simple fact that the FBI just came in and finger wagged her and walked out the door when she should have been taken out in cuffs. James Como, 86, the president, like, yeah, you called him in for a cup of coffee and let him go on his way. But somebody else did that. 86, put 86, a sitting judge, and this person is in cuffs and being prosecuted for terroristic threats. I'm sorry. What? AOC can sit up here and skirt the law, hiring illegals. Her and Ilhan trying to teach them how to, in all honesty, they call themselves trying to teach them how to avoid ICE, but the only thing they did was help them get detained even harder because they're stupid like that. And you do absolutely nothing. That's feckless. That's feckless and cowardly. I'm tired of the finger wagging and the tough talking in press conferences like this. Do something. Do your fucking job. Like, I'm sitting up here thinking it may be an FBI problem, but it's not an FBI problem. If all of this stuff is sitting on your desk, well, when are you going to actually do something? When are you going to look at the files? You going after here's all the big fish. You're going after all the cuttlefish up under them. You got all these NGOs out here funding these terrorist protests, and you're doing nothing. I'm seeing all these congressional hearings and nothing's happening. You've got mayors and governors out here literally breaking federal law, and you're doing nothing. You just tough talking. You got some goofy little soy boy who created an app so people can use it to see where ICE is in their neighborhood, and and it's on Apple, Google Play, and you're doing nothing when he should have been in cuffs yesterday. He's all on the news. Yeah, I made it so that way illegals can skirt ICE. Why is he on the news like it's no big deal? He should be in cuffs. But no, you do nothing. You're weak. You'll go after somebody like me, or an underling or something, but you won't go after the big boys. Why? I don't want to hear shit about building no cases. The evidence is right there. Which reminds me, you notice now that a lot of people like Iranians, cartel members or whatnot, they're all getting caught up with all of these money laundering schemes, repo charges, all of this, because we are, when you use digital currency, you're already part of a blockchain. So all they do is just follow the money. So since we're part of the blockchain, and all you can do to make your case super easy is just follow the money through the blockchain. Why are there sitting members of Congress who have stolen millions of dollars in taxpayer funds still just sitting there acting like they're untouchable? Yeah, feckless and weak. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. That's why I don't want to hear about we've uncovered this, uncovered that. Even though one of the next videos I got to show you all is where they uncovered like a couple, like billions of dollars in Medicaid fraud. We made 106 arrests. Okay, let's see their faces. But who's at the top of the food chain? Did you arrest them, or did you just arrest 106 underlings? Meanwhile, the big boss gets the skate. You got all of Tony Soprano's capos and their underlings and whatnot, but Tony Soprano is still sitting in his home in New Jersey barbecuing some steaks. Anyway, it just makes it makes me itch.
And Yogels, he wants the Attorney General Bondi to explore denaturalization proceedings because he thinks Mamdani could have misrepresented or concealed material support for terrorism based on rap lyrics he wrote in 2017. Does President Trump think this is a worthwhile use of the Attorney General's time?
Well, I'll let the president speak to that. I have not seen those claims, but surely if they are true, it's something that should be investigated.
And
I'm sorry, what are you talking about, Weekender? There's like more than 3 people watching. And what impeachment? What impeachment are you talking about? I don't understand. What impeachment are you talking about? Anyway.
Could President Trump see himself, you said you just talked to him about this.
Mm-hmm.
Could he see himself working with a mayor, Mamdani, somebody who on Meet the Press this weekend was given 3 chances to condemn the phrase globalize the intifada, but he couldn't?
Yeah, look, the president is always willing to work with everyone. He's working with Democrats across the country, Democrat governors, and he said he'll work with people on the far left. He works with Republicans. He works with people in the middle. He wants to do what's right for America, but surely someone who holds these values and is quite literally a communist and condemns every value that makes this country great. Common sense, law and order, low taxes, working hard, and earning your keep in this country. He's against all of that. And I think the president would find it difficult to work with someone like that. If he is elected, I'm sure you'll hear more from the president on that. But we'll have to see. Hopefully, the voters of New York City choose wisely.
You have until November.
Thanks, Caroline. The president on Friday said that he was hopeful of a Gaza deal within the next week. Can you give us an update on any progress towards that, and on any talks that the White House is having with Israel on that?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, I know that Mr. Dermer is in Washington this week to meet with senior officials here at the White House. I also know that this administration is in constant communication with Israeli leadership, and the president himself speaks frequently, as you know, to Prime Minister Netanyahu. But this has been a priority for the president since he took office, to end this brutal war in Gaza. It is because of this president that humanitarian aid is being brought into the region. It's heartbreaking to see the images that have come out from both Israel and Gaza throughout this war, and the president wants to see it end. He wants to save lives. And however, the main priority for the president also remains to bring all of the hostages home out of Gaza. As you know, his tireless effort has brought home many of the hostages, including all of the American hostages who were held there. So he wants to see both things happen, and we're continuing to work very hard to do those things.
Well, Mamdani, he's got until November. I mean, all he won was the Democratic primary. So he's a leading candidate. Cuomo re-entered back into the race as an independent. You've got some tech billionaire who said that he would fund anybody that ran as an independent in the race for mayor of New York. He would take care of that whole campaign. And Eric Adams has rethrown his hat back into the ring, which I would think that he would want a second term. All right, you would think that. For some reason, he wanted to step away, but he's like, screw this. Like, I can't let this moron take over the city of New York. I mean, these guys, you have to understand, Mamdani is not just a communist Muslim. He's trying to push Sharia law. He wants death to all Jews. All right. Now, I mean, I know we can look at it and shrug our shoulders, but I mean, this is a U.S. city. This is New York. This is New York. No telling how that city might fall under his rule And then by the time you remove him, it's too late. It's too late. That's why what came down the wire today about them denaturalizing foreigners who have been naturalized citizens coming over here, when they start acting, doing all of that death to America type rhetoric, they start talking like Mamdani, start talking like Ilhan Omar, start talking like Cynthia Gonzalez. Yeah, you know what? You can go back to where you came from. You can go back to where you came from. And there will be no court proceedings where you get to drag it out for 2-3 years and have a public defender try to argue. Nope. Snatching your passport, ripping it up, and getting first flight out of here. First flight out of here. You can go. This was the beauty of SCOTUS finally getting up off of their butts and slapping down these district court judges. This was the beauty of it. There's no stopping them now. Giving Doge access into Social Security pass, read access, all of this stuff. The little dude that caused all that chaos on Columbia's campus, he's now back home. AOC is hugging him. Welcome home. Yeah, Brian, you about to get right back up out of here now. The laws have changed. You better go ahead and sleep with your wife on American soil and enjoy it, because probably next month you'll be up out of here, and there's nothing that anybody can do that will stop them from deporting you, as they should have. Abrego Garcia, he'd rather be in jail here in America now. He's crapping his pants, knowing that, oh man, I came back here, they're about to deport me, not back to my home country, but to another crap hole, third world country, probably not even in South America. That's the beauty of what? Alligator Alcatraz out there in the boonies in Florida, where it's in a Republican district. So if those people count against the census, then the Republicans gain another seat. Matter of fact, Stephen Miller has been pushing to where if you are an illegal, you don't count towards the census, which would kill a lot of seats in California. I mean, especially in blue cities, these sanctuary cities where they were trying to use the census, the Democrats trying to use the census to gain more seats in Congress, so that way they are now an institutional power in Congress. No. They're going to deport you. They're going to make you self-deport. You're getting out of here. And now they're not going to let you count towards the U.S. Census. They want you out of here. It's over. America is about to be for America. Like, who is financing Mamdani? Probably his Muslim Brotherhood. And rich white folks who, these champagne socialists, as they call them, because they feel that it doesn't affect them. But now that he's talking about taxing rich white neighborhoods, okay, which would be them, all of a sudden now they're going, oh, wait, oh, yeah, too late now. Can't we deport AOC? No, unfortunately, she's a citizen like we're citizens. So she's here. She's here. She's one of, unfortunately, she's one of us, like Jasmine Crockett is one of us. Yeah, unfortunately. But you can drum her out of power. But we'll see. Let's get, I'm giving y'all the rundown. Let's go.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. What is the White House's response to Senator Tillis's criticism articulated from the Senate floor yesterday, in which he said passing the big, beautiful bill would betray President Trump's promise to protect Medicaid?
Well, he is just wrong. And the president and the vast majority of Republicans who are supportive of this legislation are right. This bill protects Medicaid, as I laid out for you, for those who truly deserve this program, the needy, pregnant women, children, sick Americans who physically cannot work. And what it does is it ensures that able-bodied Americans who can work 20 hours a week are actually doing so, and that will therefore strengthen and protect those benefits for Americans who need it, as well as cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse, as well as getting 1.4 million illegal aliens off of the program. So all of those measures are actually going to protect it for those who need it. That's the president's position, and that's what this bill does, and that's why Republicans need to vote for it and get it to the president's desk. Stephen.
Criticism from a Republican senator, is that reason for concern for the passage of this?
No, it's not. We're confident this bill is going to be back at the White House by the 4th of July. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions. On the New York mayoral race, does the president plan to make an endorsement? And secondly, on Jerome Powell, a lot of the focus obviously has been on interest rates and him keeping them high, but a new controversy erupted today. My colleague first reported that he's facing Chairman Jerome Powell is facing accusations of lying to Congress, which is a potential crime, about luxurious details of the Fed's $2.5 billion renovation project. Senator Loomis has called attention to this. Some experts want him to be investigated. Does the White House want these allegations investigated and, if found substantiated, punished?
I'll have to take a look at those allegations, and I will raise them to the president's attention and let him speak on them himself. To your first question regarding the mayoral race, the president was asked that yesterday by Maria Bartiromo. He refused to give an endorsement, so you won't get one from me at this podium unless he wants me to do that. Phil, go ahead.
Go in the line.
And then I can go to you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you. The president said that he's working on a temporary pause for immigration enforcement in certain industries. I'm wondering what you can tell us about how he's determining which industries are deserving of a pass. He mentioned farmers, but what about, say, construction workers? I mean, shouldn't there just be one standard here?
I don't have any more details to read out for you, but what I can tell you is that the White House is working closely every day with the Department of Agriculture as well as the Department of Homeland Security when it comes to workforce enforcement, worksite enforcement, and the president's focus and the focus of this administration is, of course, to remove public safety threats from the streets and to deport as many of the illegal criminals, especially the violent criminals that we know are still here because of the previous administration. So that's the main priority and the goal.
And then,
right, because as I've been saying a couple of months ago, when they started this whole deportation thing, and Trump wound up coming around to it, I think, about 2 weeks ago, where they were talking about service workers who are illegals in like hotels and agriculture, because they make up for agriculture, which you definitely need them for that. They make up about 40% of the workforce. So can they get like special work visas? And then, as I was saying, have them take the test 6 months later, give them the booklet, let them take the test. 6 months later, they come down to the courthouse, they take the test, and if they pass it, then they go ahead, they get sworn in under special work visas to be naturalized citizens. But the thing is that when you hear about them raiding Home Depots and Dollar Trees and Family Dollars and all these little stores and everything, what these morons out in the streets who are fighting to stop it, what they don't seem to understand that these are cartel criminals, Trinde Alagra criminals who are hiding in plain sight. It's no different than Walter White. He's a school teacher, but this dude is the biggest meth dealer in New Mexico. You know, he's working at a car wash, but he's the biggest meth dealer in Mexico. You understand? I mean, these people hide in plain sight. And then they get run up on. They get caught up there in multi-million-dollar money laundering schemes. They're in sex trafficking schemes. Why you don't leave your child unattended in a store? They quickly snatch your kid up and you never see that kid again because you're not paying attention. And they know exactly where to go. They know to go to places like Disneyland, Disney World, Family Dollar, Dollar General, beauty salons, them little corner stores. You see them illegals hanging out there or whatnot. Keep your hand on your prized possession, which is your child. Anyway.
The president has already made cuts to the office of the Director of National Intelligence, but now Senator Tom Cotton has put forward a bill that would cut the office by another 60%. What's the president's reaction to that legislation, and is this something that he would support, those additional cuts?
I don't know if the president's even aware of that legislation, but I will get you a response if he is aware and if he wants to respond to it. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. You mentioned the dangerous wildlife at the alligator Alcatraz. Is that a design feature? Why is the president going with this mega bill in such a precarious position in the Senate? And then also, can you talk about the CBO estimate that it would add about 11 million uninsured?
Well, look, when you have illegal murderers and rapists and heinous criminals in a detention facility surrounded by alligators, yes, I do think that's a deterrent for them to try to escape. We do know that some of these illegal criminals have escaped from other detention facilities, like one in New Jersey, which I know was recently reported on. So, of course, we want to keep the American people safe, and we want to remove these public safety threats from our streets, and we want to effectively detain them as best as we can. As for why the president is going, I think his trip to this detention facility actually underscores the need to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill, because we need more detention facilities across the country. The last administration let in nearly 20 million illegal people from all over the world, and this administration is focused on arresting and detaining them. But in comparison to that 20 million illegal criminal population in our country, we only have 7,000 ICE agents in the interior who are doing this very important work. And so we obviously need more personnel, we need more resources, and that's why we need to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill.
On the CBOs.
Go ahead. Yes, in the pink.
Oh, thank you. Thank you also.
No
Can you
follow-up.
share some details of China trade deal? Has the U.S. agreed to ease some technology export restrictions?
Sure. Well, the final language that was agreed upon in both Geneva and in London was signed just past week. We can get you that final text of the agreement. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
Eamon, and then behind you.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. So on Jay Powell, has the president got a short list of who he wants to see as Jay Powell's successor, and is he going to name a successor as early as this summer?
I won't get ahead of the president on any announcements on that.
Does he like Scott Besson for the job?
Again, I won't get ahead of the president.
On TikTok, if you could, real quick, he said yesterday he's got a buyer, but the question there is, does he have a seller? Do you have any indication from the Chinese government that they've authorized a sale of TikTok to the U.S. or to U.S. buyers?
What I can tell you is that these discussions with China regarding the sale of TikTok have been ongoing at the highest level, and they will continue. As you know, we have another 90-day extension, and it's just to continue to work out this deal and make sure that TikTok stays on for the American people. That's the president's main goal in this, while protecting their privacy and their security.
By the way, China is now ready to sign the deal concerning the tariffs. Scott Bessent and these Chinese officials, they've been talking for the past two and a half months. China, their economy is crashing. I mean, crashing. Because again, this is the biggest consumer market in the world. And if your products aren't being bought here because of the tariffs, then you're done. Not only that, it was really a matter of a few key details that needed to be ironed out. One of them being the fentanyl markers that come from China. The fentanyl that comes into this country, mainly from the northern border, because the southern border is shut down, but now mainly through the northern border, those markers, China has to bring them in. In order to make the fentanyl, you need the chemicals that's coming in from China. China was the biggest importer or exporter of that chemical that made fentanyl. So it's like, y'all got to stop bringing this into our country. You have to stop bringing this into our country. Stop being slick. I know you made a deal with the cartel. I mean, because every country has its underground market. Every country has its underground market. Ours was through the southern border. Guns, drugs, trafficking of humans. All right. Black market, jeans and black culture. knockoffs, as we call them. All of that was going through the southern border, both above and underground. I'm pretty sure the U.S. did not kill their underground market, those tunnels that run underground where it looks like somebody carved out a mountain and created these well-lit tunnels and everything. I'm pretty sure they're still open and still being run by the U.S. government. They are in control of the southern border. What comes and goes that we know shouldn't be coming and going, because they still have their black market, their underground market is still running smoothly. Let's not be misled. Fentanyl was part of China's underground market. That and trafficking of humans, as well as bootlegs, knockoffs. But the U.S. was like, you got to stop the fentanyl. You got to stop the fentanyl. Yeah, the cartel paid you a lot of money. Well, sorry. Sell it somewhere else. Sell it somewhere else. We're not selling it. You're not doing business with that drug in America anymore. Or at least not at the volume that in which you've been selling it. At least not here. Not anymore. You're done. The biggest threat that we have is drugs and the cartel. They're killing the cartel's money left and right. Killing their money left and right. Killing their money left and right by getting their operatives out of this country. It's a beautiful thing.
And you, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. The president has been calling for a deal in Gaza for 2 days and many posts. Who is blocking the deal? And one other thing, when he posted on Netanyahu's trial, also he said it interferes with the negotiations on Iran and on Gaza. What did he mean by that?
I'm sorry, to your second question?
When he posted about the Israeli Prime Minister trial,
Yes.
he said it interferes with the negotiations on Gaza and on Iran. What did he mean by that?
It interferes because it physically and logistically was interfering. The prime minister was slated to go to court last week when he's in the middle of negotiating a peace deal and bringing hostages out of a war-torn region. And so the president was simply, I think, emphasizing his empathy that he has for Bibi Netanyahu and seeing him go what he's going through with his own judicial system in the state of Israel. Clearly, the president knows that very well. He too was a victim of a judicial system that was trying to put him in jail, as you all know. You all covered it, but President Trump prevailed. That's why he's back in the Oval Office, and he believes that Bibi Netanyahu is a great leader for the people of Israel. The president just worked with him closely to end that 12-day war and to obliterate Iran's nuclear facility, to take out that imminent threat, not just to the state of Israel, but also to the United States of America and the rest of the world. And he believes that Prime Minister Netanyahu should be praised for that.
Yeah, because Netanyahu, you know, how we've been watching this go on since what, last year, 2023 or whatever. This whole situation between them and Palestine, or should we say Hamas, all the way up until now, we're like, this dude is pretty much a warmonger. What the hell? So, of course, there are a lot of people, just like here in America, there are a lot of people over in Israel that they want his head on a platter, so to speak, you know, figuratively, maybe some of them literally, whatever. But they want him out of office, just like they want Zelensky out of office. So I guess because he did Trump this solid, you know, with the whole Iran deal or whatever, so Trump got his back. I mean, he did curse him out. So it just goes to show you that who's really in charge. Israel is not in charge of the United States. Trump is in charge of the United States, and he's in charge of what's going on in Israel. I mean, we are the big boys on the block. But just like with Eric Adams, you know you did what you did, but if you play ball with me, I'll play ball with you. That's the way it's coming across. And, you know, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
Go ahead.
Caroline, on the mega bill and the amendment that would limit Medicaid expansion under the Affordable Care Act, does the president want that amendment to pass?
The president wants this bill to pass. Meredith.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. On trade, we have this looming July 9th deadline coming up. We heard the Treasury Secretary say that he expects to wrap up these trade deals by Labor Day, but when President Trump was asked yesterday about any extensions by July 9th, he said, I think that would be necessary. So is the president ruling out any extensions on trade for any nations, even if they're negotiating in good faith?
Well, you heard from him directly. He said he did not think that it would be necessary. He is going to set the rates for many of these countries if they don't come to the table to negotiate in good faith. And he is meeting with his trade team this week to do that. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I just watched a CNN segment on a new app called Ice Block, and it kind of appeared to be promoting this app where you can tell people where ICE agents are. Given the recent rise,
An app that tells people where ICE agents are?
Yes. And given the rise, I believe 500% increase in assaults on ICE agents, I wanted to see if you could comment on that and why CNN would be promoting such an app.
Well, it's a very good question. I'll have to go back and watch the clip myself, but surely it sounds like this would be an incitement of further violence against our ICE officers. As you know, as you stated, there's been a 500% increase in violence against ICE agents, law enforcement officers across the country who are just simply trying to do their jobs and remove public safety threats from our communities. And that's something we as Americans, including journalists at CNN who live in many of these cities where illegal aliens are hiding and were let in from the previous administration, should be very grateful for. So we haven't seen the clip. We'll take a look at it, but certainly it's unacceptable that a major network would promote such an app that is encouraging violence against law enforcement officers who are trying to keep our country safe.
Caroline?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, this dude should be in cuffs. He should be in cuffs. He should be sitting in a jail cell right this minute. But instead, you know, all these Democrats, all these news anchors and everything, at least the heads of the news, why are you pushing this stuff out? All of these congressmen, these Democratic congressmen, especially in California, why are they still allowed to roam free with their anti-American rhetoric? Karen Bass should be in jail. Gavin Newsom should be in jail. I don't care. We'll throw some charges on you. We'll make something stick. But your ass needs to be, you need to spend the night in a detention center, at least for a week. I don't care if we have to let you go. You're going to learn that there's consequences for your actions. They're just, you know, First Amendment. Well, here's the thing about the First Amendment. People never talk about the byline is that, yes, you are free to say whatever you want to say, but do understand that sometimes there are consequences for your words. And these people they're not meeting the consequences of their actions. It's ridiculous.
Shelby.
I just wanted to get a clarification on Senator Rick Scott's amendment. It sounds like the president is agnostic about whether it's attached. Is that accurate?
Look, I'm not going to get into the details of the discussions that are ongoing right now, but the president wants these senators to come to a conclusion, to get this bill back to the White House as soon as possible and make sure that it's a piece of legislation that can make its way back through the House as well. So obviously there's some ping-ponging between both sides of Capitol Hill right now, but that's why Senator Thune and Speaker Johnson are working with the president in lockstep every step of the way.
Yeah, you know, you're talking about her dress. Yeah, she's one of them. You have to understand, Karoline Leavitt is a Midwestern girl, you know, good Christian girl, like literally good Christian girl, carrying a Bible to church every Sunday and everything. She's literally one of those type of women. She married and had a baby with a guy who's like in his 50s or 60s, whatnot, but he's like a billionaire. All right, she's like 27, and the dress is filled out because she had the baby. The baby's not even a year old yet. So, you know, she wearing that dress. But yeah, that's why her style is very Idahoan. You know, North Dakota, South Dakota, small town girlian. Yeah, she's one of those.
In the back, News Nation.
Thanks, Caroline. The president did
and then in front of you. Yes.
In front of
Sure,
the president did announce last week that the trade deal with India is closed.
and this could happen anytime soon. Are there any roadblocks as of now? Are there any updates on that? And how does the president see this about China's role or its influence in the Indo-Pacific region?
Sure, yes. The president said that last week, and it remains true. I actually just spoke to our Secretary of Commerce about it. He was in the Oval Office with the president. They are finalizing these agreements, and you'll hear from the president and his team, his trade team, very soon when it comes to India.
China?
Yes, very sister wife-ish.
Counter China on that front?
Yes, I mean, look, India remains a very strategic ally in the Asia Pacific, and the president has a very good relationship with Prime Minister Modi, as you know, and he will continue to have that. Go ahead.
Thank you.
But you know what? I know that's a weird look for her. I'm not gonna say what that looks like, but I mean, this is, if you were to have a wife, though, this is what you would want in a wife. You would want somebody that's smart, very reserved in her appearance, and very motherly, very and not afraid to get her hands dirty. That's what you want in a wife. Not all this makeup, this glam, BBLs, all that stuff. And this is what you would want. Let's be honest. Doesn't matter what package it come in. That's the personality that you would want.
On the reconciliation bill, Senator Tillis from the floor yesterday seemed to suggest President Trump was getting bad counsel on the effects of the bill. Is President Trump aware of the analyses, and there are several of these, that suggest if rural hospitals potentially close, if there are Medicaid patients in the millions that become ineligible for that?
Yes, and that claim is just simply untrue. Rural hospitals comprise 7% of all hospital spending on Medicaid, and that illustrates that they have not benefited from the massive increase of waste, fraud, and abuse under the Biden administration. So this bill strengthens Medicaid. It will protect those benefits that hardworking Americans need, and that's why the president wants this bill to pass. The senator was wrong. The president put out a Truth Social post addressing it, and then the senator announced he's no longer running for office anymore. So I think that case has been closed, and the White House is continuing to focus on getting this legislation to the president's desk for his signature. Go ahead. Yes, you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, you and then you. There's confusion here.
A question on Syria.
Go ahead.
Has the Syrian government get back to you that they are ready to join the Abraham Accord? Is there any discussion with the Syrian and Israeli government for having a security agreement? Is the first question. And the second question, what's the end goal of talking with the Iranian? Is that only focused on the nuclear program, or you're willing to speak about the other issues like the proxy groups and ballistic missiles, or even trade with Iran?
So as for discussions between Syria and Israel, you'll have to reach out to those respective governments. I can't comment on that. But what I can tell you is that this afternoon, the president will be signing an executive order to terminate the United States sanctions program on Syria. And this is in an effort to promote and support the country's path to stability and peace. The order will remove sanctions on Syria while maintaining sanctions on the former President Assad, his associates, human rights abusers, drug traffickers, persons linked to chemical weapons activities, ISIS and their affiliates, and Iranian proxies. And this is, again, an action that the president promised and shocked the world with in Saudi Arabia, because he's committed to supporting a Syria that is stable, unified, and at peace with itself and its neighbors. The president met with Syria's new president when we were in the Middle East, as you know. And so this is another promise made and promise kept by this president to promote peace and stability in the region.
You know what that's really about? Resources. I guarantee you, when they were at NATO, which is funny when you had dude called Trump Daddy, they all were around him. Everybody wants to make a deal. All right? Everybody wants to make a deal with the United States. Again, this is the greatest economy in the world. Everybody wants in. Everybody wants a piece. They want a piece of our Jews. They want a piece of this. You know, they come in with the Diddy baby oils. Do we need to lick your nipples, sir? They want in. I mean, look at what happened with, the Congo and Rwanda. They stopped fighting overnight. They're withdrawing their forces from their territories and everything. because they want in. They want in. Which reminds me, oh my God, CNN. I'm really under the impression that CNN just likes to hire stupid black women, mainly black women, but stupid black men too, but mainly stupid black people, low IQ black people, to be on their network, and especially on Abby Phillips' show. And they get up there and they debate Shermichael Singleton, Kevin O'Leary, which really isn't a debate. These people are half-wits. They are so outmatched. And Scott Jennings. You had Carrie Champion. Oh my God, this chick. You had Carrie Champion on the show sitting next to Scott Jennings. This chick is so stupid. She didn't even know that the day before that Trump ended the war between Congo and Rwanda. And Scott Jennings told her that, no, he didn't. Like, no, what do you mean? Like, they just signed the deal right there in the White House. We covered it. They signed the deal in the White House. What are you talking about? No, he didn't. Like, oh my God. Like, chick. No wonder they gave Scott a raise back in May. Like, I mean, how do you tolerate such incompetence? How do you tolerate such incompetence? Joy Reid is now back on. She's now on CNN. They got her on. They had her on the panel, the Allie Phillips show. She was talking out of her ass as usual, but Scott wasn't there. Shermichael wasn't there. It was some other dude. All right. She was on the Breakfast Club talking about Jasmine Crockett is a true Democratic leader. Oh, and we need to get into her because the Democratic Party, you know, her slave masters broke her. I meant to cover that today, but I got busy. I'll probably deal with it in the morning. But yeah, they broke her. Now she's quiet, demure, and acting like she has some sense. Man, what a beautiful end to June. What a beautiful end to the month of June. We're 6 months and 10 days into this presidency, and the man just, oh my God, just keeps winning. He just keeps winning. Just keep winning.
Go ahead, Karoline. Questions on two topics, if you don't mind. I will start with NTD here. First, on Canada. Canada says it's now dropping its digital services tax on American tech companies days after President Trump says he's halting all trade talks with Canada. First, what's the president's reaction to this? Can you tell us more about his call with Prime Minister Carney over the weekend? How did he get Carney to drop it? And also, what's the impact on American tech companies given this latest progress, as the president says he has been fighting for American tech companies?
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump in the United States of America. And President Trump knows how to negotiate, and he knows that he is governing the best country and the best economy in this world, on this planet. And every country on the planet needs to have good trade relationships with the United States. And it was a mistake for Canada to vow to implement that tax that would have hurt our tech companies here in the United States. The president made his position quite clear to the prime minister, and the prime minister called the president last night to let the president know that he would be dropping that tax, which is a big victory for our tech companies and our American workers here at home.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid.
The administration today formally accused Harvard of violating civil rights laws by not doing enough to fight anti-Semitism. We know that the president has talked to us before about Harvard potentially having a deal with the administration in the coming days. Do you have an updated timeline for that? How's the negotiations going? And is more pressure needed for Harvard to take fighting anti-Semitism seriously?
Well, there was quite a direct letter that was sent to Harvard this morning, as you know. The negotiations are taking place behind closed doors, so I won't comment on that. But what I will share with all of you, for those who haven't seen it, is the context of this letter, because I think it's very important. And this comes from the Department of Health and Human Services, which concluded after a thorough investigation that Harvard University is in a violent violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin. And if you read some of the content of the investigation and what they found, the majority of Jewish students reportedly experienced negative bias or discrimination on their campus, while a quarter of Jewish students at Harvard felt physically unsafe. Jewish and Israeli students were assaulted and spit on. They hid their kippahs for fear of being harassed and concealed their Jewish identity from classmates for fear of ostracization. Images were widely circulated amongst the Harvard community that trafficked in obvious anti-Semitic tropes, including one that showed a $sign inside of a Star of David, and the campus was vandalized with anti-Semitic stickers, including one that showed the Israeli flag with a swastika. The Harvard campus was racked by demonstrations, as you all know, violent protests that violated the university's rules of conduct. The demonstrations called for genocide and murder, denied Jewish and Israeli students access to campus spaces. These are all facts that Harvard cannot dispute, and that's why the administration has found them in violation of Title VI and has threatened to withhold their federal funding, because if you break federal law, you should not be receiving federal tax dollars. And so I rest my case on Harvard. Andrea.
Yeah, so President Macron of France earlier today said that tariffs levied by powerful countries are often a form of blackmail, and criticized the sort of process that's underway. He didn't mention the United States specifically, but said that these tariffs are really hurting developing countries. So there's this big UN conference going on. What do you say to that? What is the president, was he aware of that comment, and did he have any response?
I think the president and the White House would certainly reject that characterization by Prime Minister Macron. Tariffs are an effective use of presidential power to bring back the middle class, to bring back our manufacturing industry, which was the backbone of our American economy and has been hollowed out by globalist politicians who have caved to foreign countries instead of doing what's right for American workers. That's why the president is effectively utilizing his authority to wage tariffs and to utilize tariffs, and continues to be in discussions and negotiations on trade to do what's right for America. And Europe and the rest of the world might not be used to that, but President Trump is back in town, and he's going to do what's right for our people and our country.
I think it's kind of hypocritical for Macron to talk about how terrorists are blackmail when they've been blackmailing the hell out of Haiti for over 200 years. Like, where do you get the balls, the unmitigated gall, to open your mouth and say that making a country pay their fair share of taxes is blackmail after what you're doing to Haiti? Matter of fact, you haven't been down to Haiti. France hasn't done anything with Haiti since the last slave revolt. I think the guy Barbecue was still in charge. And of course, Trump this week, I think it was today or this weekend, they ended TPS, which is the protected status for Haitian immigrants. Yeah, they're making them pack up and get the hell up out of here. They've got until September to get the hell up out of here. And they can self-deport on the app. Here's $1,000. Take your ass back home. You're done. You're done. But I kind of get the feeling that Trump is not done with Haiti, especially after what he did with the Congo and Rwanda, and also with Qatar, and what it looks like he's getting ready to do in the Middle East. All right, when he he removed those sanctions. I think that he's going to go down to Haiti, or at least deal with Haiti and France and try to take over that Haitian territory, because they're not doing anything with it. They're just keeping those black people in poverty and taxing them, just keeping them poor with a tax. I mean, you saw what South Africa came here. The president of South Africa tried to come here and do. He tried to come here and cash in on the American marketplace. And Trump was like, no, like, you got members in your cabinet that are talking about killing white farmers. Showed all of that stuff to his face. I don't care how much they tried to denounce it and pretend like that those niggas. No, bruh, please. We flew a drone over your country. We would find that stuff. Do we need to talk to the families? Like, what are you talking about? Here's the video of you guys in the stadium field stadium talking about kill the white farmer. What are you talking about? But you want us to come and help mine your minerals, which are worth trillions of dollars. You want us to come and do that, but this is how you feel about us? You can get the hell on with that. You can get the hell on with that. I wouldn't be surprised if before the end of the year that Haiti wound up getting some American help. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised.
Follow up on Netanyahu.
What's up, Novi?
So there's a report in Israeli media that the prime minister will actually be here, that Netanyahu will be here today.
Yeah, North Africa.
Can you confirm that?
I don't believe Prime Minister Netanyahu is here today. I think you guys would know about
Yeah,
that by now.
colonial tax.
Unless
Friends.
there's something going on I don't know about, but I don't believe he is. I do know he has expressed interest in coming to Washington and meeting with the president, and we are working on a date for that. I do not believe it is today, but that would be fun. You never know in this White House, let's be honest. Go ahead.
Thanks, Karoline. Does the president support this new measure in the big, beautiful bill that would impose steep new taxes on new wind and solar projects?
I believe you're referring to the credits for wind and solar projects. And
we're talking about the new tax. There's a new tax that it's estimated would add 10 to 20% to the cost of any new wind and solar projects that start after this year.
Again, I don't want to comment on the specifics of provisions, but I'm sure the president will speak on that directly. Again, this is an ongoing process. The president continues to be very much engaged with the leadership in both the Senate and the House to get this bill back to his desk.
All right, because I mean, I'm gonna let it go. But yeah, I remember because I be doing my YouTube stuff and everything, just gathering information. I remember I saw somebody did a video on that where they were talking about a lot of people are fed up. They want to get rid of their solar panels because of the cost. And I'm like, but solar panels shouldn't cost you anything. I mean, outside of buying them and then the installation. Like, so what's going on? Okay, so I guess I need that video kept popping up in my mention, so I guess I need to check it out.
I asked for that provision because the National Building Trades Union is saying that it's the equivalent of terminating more than 1,000 Keystone XL pipeline projects. Is that something that would concern him?
Well, the president spoke on this yesterday in his interview, and he said he understands that legislators want to protect jobs in their communities and in their districts. And so he understands why some of them are against this provision, but he also understands why people want the provision. So again, this is an ongoing deliberation and discussion, and the president is engaged in this very much. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. We've been hearing from White House officials for weeks that you're close on trade deals with a number of countries. Can we get any update on which countries will have deals by the 9th and when there may be any announcements?
I'll let the president and the trade team speak on it.
Or can you respond to the CBO estimate that the Senate bill would increase the deficit by nearly $3.3 trillion?
This is one of the most fiscally conservative pieces of legislation that has ever made its way through Capitol Hill. There's $2 trillion in mandatory savings in this bill. And not only that, the projected growth that this bill will bring to our economy. It will be an economic boom. The Council of Economic Advisors has an analysis that shows that the bill will generate $4.1 trillion in economic growth, and it will cut taxes, putting more money back into the American people's pockets. That's why this president wants this bill to pass. And I know he's busy working the phones and doing what he needs to do today to make it happen. So we'll see.
When she start doing that school teacher, doing the papers like this, if she do that, yeah, she's done. Oh, I've noticed that. I picked up on that. Yeah, she's done.
Call later. Thank you. We'll see you.
She's done. She up out of there. So that was interesting. There's one more. Trump did a surprise news conference shortly after she had did her speech. He went to go talk to the Senate.
Advantageous for a lot of Americans.
Real quickly, as I was talking about that, I'm against this.
Come on.
Saw deduction. One of the counter arguments that is also being made to your point.
Hold on, y'all. Let me get to it.
For the children and the disabled. Obama expanded to the point where it's unaffordable, and the federal
left side of your screen, there he is, just entering the Capitol now. Let's see if he makes any remarks.
Well, it's not a question of holdouts. We have a tremendously unified party. I don't think we've ever had a party like this. There are some people that want a couple of things that maybe I don't like or that they're not going to get.
Hold on, let me read y'all comments. All right. So No News here, brother. I'm a licensed industrial electrician. The panels themselves and the components don't cost that much. There's the labor and overinflation of the bills these companies are charging. Okay. Yeah, I need to see what they're talking about. Yeah, I need to see what they're talking about. See, China has most of the resources needed to make solar panels. We are way behind, which affects the cost of renewables. Okay, so that's probably what they're talking about. They're probably talking about the taxes because of the tariffs. All right, well, I'll find out. I'll find out. You say, why does Blue Blazer front row look like Beaker from the Muppet Show in the mouth? Oh, Lord. You crazy. Let's see. You talking about? Okay, you must know. Okay. So, all right, so let's get on to this.
I think we're going to have tremendous, not luck, we have tremendous talent. This man has done an incredible job as Speaker. You know, we had a majority of 1. We were 1 heart attack away from losing the House, okay? Now we have 7. That's a big, because we won some elections, as you probably noticed, and we're gonna win a lot of elections. We have an economy that's roaring. We took out 5.1 billion, if you take a look, 5.1 trillion with a T, not a B. 5.1 trillion out of the Middle East. They're investing more than that. It's gonna be ultimately more than that, but 180 wide-body Boeing aircraft. They're spending money at levels that nobody's ever seen. Usually a president goes for a trip and he loses money. In other words, he gives money. We went for a trip and we took out $5.1 trillion. Nobody has ever seen anything like it. And that's just the beginning. So I think we're a very unified party. The Senate's doing great. John Thune is doing fantastically. He's a great guy. And we're going to have a bill, the one big, beautiful bill. I think it's going to be, it's the biggest bill ever passed, and we got to get it done. Tremendous tax cuts for people, tremendous incentives, tremendous regulation cuts, all these regulations that are so horrible. And now you find out what happened, because Biden, look, it's a very sad thing what happened, but I really we're going to start looking into this whole thing with who signed this legislation. Who signed legislation opening our border? I don't think he knew. I said there's nobody that could want an open border, nobody. And now I find out that it wasn't him. He auto-penned it. Who was operating the auto-pen? This is a very serious thing. We had a president that didn't sign anything. He auto.
Hold on. Yeah, you're right. Because remember, because of China, America was kicked out of Africa. Now, America is back in Africa, which is a beautiful thing because you need those resources. But instead of strong arming these countries out of their resources, instead of strong arming these countries out of their resources in Africa, you're now paying them. You're now splitting the profits evenly and helping them build up their infrastructure. That's the best thing to do, because I mean, that's the motherland. That's where the majority of your best resources are coming from. So why would you go in there with guns a-blazing and be all authoritarianism, you know, when you can go in and just make a deal? I'd rather you come in, you know, with not with Bibles, but with contracts and bulldozers and digging machines and hire my people and we split the money. I'd rather you do that than come in with your guns and your Bibles and trying to force homosexuality on us. Let's go.
Almost every, he opened the borders of the United States of America. And I kept saying, who would do such a thing? Allowing criminals to pour in from all over the world, not just South America, all over the world. They came in from Africa, they came in from Asia, they came from the Congo. The prisons in the Congo in Africa, these are rough people. The prisons from the Congo are empty. You know where they are? They're in this country. Who would sign this? Nobody would sign it. No sane person would sign it. You know who signed it? Radical left lunatics that were running our country, and the Autopen signed it. And they didn't want him, and they were disappointed in getting him because they wanted Bernie Sanders. And then after about 2 weeks, they said, wait a minute, this is a gift. He'll do anything. We're going to use the Autopen. And they used the Autopen and everything. He didn't approve this stuff because when Joe Biden was with it, he would never have approved it. You take a look, he would have never approved open borders. Go ahead, another question.
Are Republicans still grandstanding in your view?
Oh, yeah, sure. You have a couple that will grandstand, but I think even the grandstanders should. Look, the alternative is a 68% tax increase. And you can blame the Democrats for that and one or two grandstanders. We only have one or two, but we have tremendous support. But you'll have a 68% tax increase, or you'll get a massive tax decrease. You'll get a tax cut, the likes of which we've never had before. This is bigger than any Ronald Reagan tax cut. It's even bigger than the tax cut that I gave, because as you know, that's being extended and increased. So this is the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, or you'll get a 68% tax increase. And if that happens, I mean, what Republican could vote for that to happen? Because they wouldn't be a Republican much longer. They would be knocked out so fast. But we're going up to details. This is I'm a cheerleader for this party, and I'm a cheerleader for the country, much more importantly for the country. But I'm a cheerleader for the party, and we're going to go up, and I think we're going to have a very good discussion. There are one or 2 points that some people feel strongly about, but maybe not so strong.
On one of those points, do you consider some of the proposals on the table, like co-pay provider tax, as a benefit cut? How are you viewing those?
We are looking at one thing. We're not doing any cutting of anything meaningful. The only thing we're cutting is waste, fraud, and abuse. With Medicaid, waste, fraud, and abuse. There's tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. There's incompetent things with it. We have illegal aliens that are multiple killers with multiple murder records getting Medicaid. I don't think anybody minds if we cut that. The Democrats, on the other hand, are going to destroy it because they're going to leave these people on. We're cutting 3 things: waste, fraud, and abuse. We're not changing Medicaid, and we're not changing Medicare, and we're not changing Social Security. And if I wanted to do those things, I would have done it during my 4 years that we were.
What's your message to, Mr. President, what's your message to your fellow New Yorker Republicans who are hung up on the SALT issue state?
Well, SALT is a very interesting thing because the governors of New York and Illinois, you know, the big JB is going nowhere. Probably right now he could be the worst governor in the country. But Illinois and Gavin Newsom,
still calling
those are the
Newsom.
people that want this. And they're Democrat states. They're all Democrat states. You know, Ronald Reagan tried very hard to get this passed, was unable to do it the way we have it, where basically everybody's treated equally. He tried it so hard and he never got it done. He was always disappointed. He never got it done. We got it done. Now people want to change it. So we're going to be talking about that. But the biggest beneficiary, if we do that, are governors from New York, Illinois, and California. And those governors are the ones that blew it because they weren't able to get it. So I think we're going to be explaining that these are all very blue states that I don't really believe. If we had honest elections, I don't actually believe. I think I would have won California. I would have won New York. I even think I would have won Illinois. I think we have to, you know, we're going to start this after. I was talking to Mike, and again, I'm his biggest fan. I love this guy. He's the only guy could have walked in with a 1. Think of it. You can't be a guy like me and have a 1 majority. You have to be a guy like him, a nice person. He's very religious. He prays. He's a man of God. So am I, but he's really to a new level. I will tell you. He is a great guy. They love him in Louisiana, and they love him that's the only kind of guy. Somebody said, oh, well, we want somebody that, if you put a certain personality in there, you would have never, look at what he got passed, what he's gotten passed. And just so you understand, he's getting this passed too. And I don't think there's anybody I can give you guys that is so tough. You guys would run if you ever looked at him. If you ever saw some of these guys, you would not ask him questions. You'd be afraid to. This guy did something that I don't think there's anybody that's more well-suited to be Speaker of the House, especially in a case like this. Remember, we had a majority of 1 for 6 months. And that was a very frightening thing because the Democrats have really hurt our country. And we are going to go into very much so. Remember what I said, the auto pen. This government was illegally run for 4 years. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
President, the DOJ be charging a member of Congress?
Weren't sure we would get comments.
Yeah, he was done. He left it alone after that. Let's see here. Of course, you had, of course, people with commentary. Looks like he had another speech. Should we play it? Let's get to it. Because from what I'm understanding, look, I put it to you like this. If you call yourself running for mayor or governor, if these seats are open, especially with the primaries coming up, no matter which party you are, but if I'm the Republican Party, I'm going to push campaign to my grassroots people. I'm like, hey, look, you need to go in as a candidate. You need to talk about being tough on crime. You need to talk about bringing these golden ticket jobs to your districts, to your area, to your cities. Tough on crime, bring these jobs in, getting the graffiti off the streets. All right. And in all honesty, and also getting rid of the criminal illegals. And for the rest of you who are illegals, you're here, you're undocumented or whatever language you want to use, we're going to work on getting, instead of you all leaving and having to force to come back, we're going to see if we can get you all to stay here in critical areas where you're needed, such as agriculture. We're definitely going to try to keep you here. All right, because I mean, do understand these people, they do not have the right to vote. They do not have the right to vote. It's illegal for them to vote. It's a federal law that they don't have the right to vote. They won't be counted. It doesn't care what California, Illinois, New York, and Boston are trying to do, in Pennsylvania. It doesn't matter. No, you don't have the right to vote. And if you're caught voting, you go to jail. There's been some people who went to jail because they've allowed illegals to vote. You know, like I said, Bondi goes after the small fries, but she won't touch the big fish. But yeah, you get behind them. You push those. You push them up. You get them in those primaries. Guaranteed you will win out in California. You'll win in Illinois, especially Chicago. You can definitely win the mayorship in Chicago. The black voters there, they are flipped. They have flipped. They flip because they take these illegals. This is why I think it's so stupid of black people to be siding with these democratic slave master white folks, talking about them keeping illegals here, when they push these criminals in your area, in your neighborhoods. They take the jobs that you should be working. You're sitting up here all on TikTok, bitching, moaning, whining, and crying about being evicted, and you can't get a job, and you're in all of this debt. But meanwhile, Consuela is working a job that you should have, and you should be making double, if not triple, the pay in which they're giving her with health care. But no, you want these people in the country to continually undermine your broke ass. You're a very stupid people.
Because he has to get this bill through. He talks about the art of the deal. He needs to get the votes. And as I always say, it's about the math. If they were to put this bill on the floor right now, it would not pass. Now, keep in mind, we might get a few comments here from the president as he walks by, being escorted by Bill McFarland, the sergeant at arms. Let's listen for a second.
We have a very, very united party. This man has done a fantastic job, and so have you, Lisa. But this man has done a fantastic job. He's a real unifier. I don't think anybody else could have done it. I just said to your cohorts downstairs, we had a majority of one for a period of 5 months. And he kept it together, and we actually passed things. Nobody else could have done it. He's done a fantastic job as Speaker. We have a very, very unified party. Remember, we had one and now we have 7. We won elections. We won elections. Now we're going to win a lot of elections. The economy is good. I just had my highest poll numbers ever. And we had a big trip to the Middle East. We took in $5.1 trillion. We brought it back to our country. 180 Boeing aircraft are being built now because of that trip and many other things. That's the least of it. The economy is doing great. The stock market's higher now than when I came to office. And we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariff money, and we've had no inflation. You know, they kept saying inflation. There's no inflation. Groceries are down. Gasoline is way down. Way down. Everything is down. All energy costs are down. I'll tell you, to me, maybe the most respected thing, you saw the way they respected me between Qatar and Saudi Arabia and UAE, probably the richest, certainly the richest of their type nation, great place, unbelievable amounts of money. They respect our country again. They were going to go to China. China was going to take over those countries 100%. They were dealing with China because they weren't treated right by the last administration. And they have tremendous economic power. They have more money than anybody. We probably have more money, but we have other things that they are very, very, they are very cash rich, to put it mildly. And they're spending 5.1 trillion. Probably it's going to be 7 trillion by the time we stop. And somebody said every other president goes and leaves and spends money, gives other countries money. I'm the only one that goes and takes money back. When you think of it, I said, that's an interesting statement. I never thought of it that way. But we have this is really just a pep talk. We have a very unified House and we have a very unified Senate. And Mike is doing a phenomenal job as Speaker. He's going to be there a long time. And we have a man in the Senate, our leader, Thune. Mr. Thune is doing a great job. I've gotten to like him a lot, and he's doing a fantastic job. Between the two guys, very different personalities, actually, in certain ways, but they are doing a fantastic job. I don't think the Republican Party has ever been so unified. It's become a much bigger party. We're winning the labor vote. We won the Teamsters. We won votes that no, but look how well we did with the automakers. And by the way, the president of the automakers is now my biggest fan. He said, he did tariffs. Do you know how many auto plants are being built now in this country because of the tariffs? 3 just announced yesterday that they're building. There's a revolution going on, a positive one.
Financially.
I love it, and we're doing really well. And
Will, talking negotiations to stop Mr. President. Do you want the negotiations to be over now?
Which negotiation?
Over this bill.
Oh, yeah, well, it's going to be. We're going to be putting it in soon, and I think we're going to have great support.
Are you going to
We're going to make a couple of tweaks. I mean, we don't want to benefit Democrat governors, although I would do that if it made it better, but they don't know what they're doing.
So you want
We don't want to do any damage to a state. We want to help all the states, but we have governors that are from the Democrat Party. Let's say New York, Illinois, big ones, and let's say Gavin Newsom, who's done a horrible job in California. We want to benefit we want to benefit Republicans because they are the ones that are going to make America great again. The Democrats are destroying our country, and you see that with a past administration with an open borders policy that allowed 21 million people into our country, and many of those people are stone cold murderers, killers, and trouble. Yeah.
What are you planning to tell the fiscal hawks who want to delay
Say it.
this? What are you planning to tell the fiscal hawks who want to delay this?
I'm a fiscal hawk.
They don't think this cuts enough spending.
I'm a bigger fiscal hawk. There's nobody like me as a
Tom
fiscal
Massey said that that is more deficit than Biden did, and this bill kind of.
Because we have to fix the country.
Do you think that Thomas Massey is correct in saying that this is adding Biden levels?
No, I don't think Thomas Massey understands government. I think he's a grandstander, frankly. He'll probably vote. We don't even talk to him much. I think he should be voted out of office. And I just don't think he understands government. If you ask him a couple of questions, he never gives you an answer. He just says, I'm a no. He thinks he's going to get publicity. And you have that. You have that. They've got some too. Go ahead.
Mr. President, on Medicaid, do you want work requirements phased in next year? Do you think
Here's what I
that's
want on Medicaid. We're not touching anything. All I want is one thing. 3 words. We don't want any waste, fraud, or abuse. Very simple. Waste, fraud, abuse. Other than that, we're leaving it. Medicare, we're leaving it. All we're after, and this is for the good of it, There's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. That's all we're doing. We're not touching it. The Democrats are going to destroy it. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, do you think you'll be able to convince Chip Roy and Ralph Norman to?
All right, so I mean, I didn't know what he said, so here we are. I wanted to make sure we get everything. And then, of course, now, apparently, because no news, I made you a mod. This just came. This is what I saw when it came down the wire. They're talking about that guy with the app. Beat this. Let's see what they got to say about it.
Huge Supreme Court ruling on Friday. The DOJ now continues to implement President Trump's immigration agenda. Earlier today, the department filed a lawsuit against sanctuary city policies in Los Angeles following the recent lawlessness and the riots that have plagued that city. And last week, the DOJ filed a complaint against Minnesota, challenging laws providing in-state tuition benefits to illegal immigrants.
That's
Still,
criminal.
Democrats are going way out of their way to resist everything that President Trump does. One software developer has now created an app to warn people when ICE agents are nearby. And this morning, fake news CNN appeared to promote the app. How nice of them. Take a look.
I talked with Joshua Aaron, who is the longtime tech worker who developed this platform, and he said he really wants it to be an early warning system for people about the location of immigrations and customs enforcement officers. So he says he does not want people interfering with those officers' activity, but he does want people to be able to avoid them altogether. You open the app, it looks like a map, and users can tap the map to report an ICE sighting in their area, and then everybody who uses the platform within 5 miles of that sighting will get a push alert. This is a free iPhone app. It is anonymous. Aaron says he doesn't collect any user data.
And meanwhile, President Trump is set to visit the grand opening of what is now being dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. That is a detention center in the Everglades for illegal immigrants. And the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is with us with more. Madam Attorney General, great to have you, as always. Let's start with these lawsuits, the one against Los Angeles and last week in Minnesota.
These shouldn't be lost.
Yeah, well, Sean, in Los Angeles, what LA was doing, and we also sued Karen Bass, the mayor, directly. What they were doing is they were prioritizing illegal aliens over American citizens, and you cannot do that. These sanctuary policies are the root of the cause of violent crime in our country, in LA. We saw it with the riots. We had to send out DEA, FBI, ATF, our U.S. Marshals, jeopardize their safety to help enforce the laws of Los Angeles. We are not going to we're not going to protect illegal aliens over Americans. No longer. It's stopped. We have sued New York, Illinois, Colorado, New Jersey, and now we've sued Los Angeles, and we will continue to sue you if you do not follow the laws of our country.
You for breaking the law.
Well, Mamdani, I noticed, made that pledge about not helping or following the law. We do have the supremacy clause in the Constitution. Right. They do have jurisdiction, is my understanding. But isn't that the same for every sanctuary city or state?
Making my ass itch.
Yeah, and what Dabi is saying in New York is utterly ridiculous. It's making mainstream anti-Semitism, Sean. This guy is out of control. What he's been doing, what he's been saying, he wanted to defund, do away with NYPD. It's so frightening. And the things about anti-Semitism should scare us all, given what happened with the Holocaust Museum, given what happened in Boulder, Colorado, and we just lost that victim, as you know, the 82-year-old victim who was firebombed, given what happened in the UK with that concert saying all these anti-Semitic things. Someone like that is very dangerous, not only for New York, but for our entire country. So we're going to keep fighting for the citizens of these cities. If these mayors and these candidates for mayors won't do it, Donald Trump will.
Why don't you? That's your job.
Tim Walz, Governor Tim Walz in Minnesota.
Aren't you the Attorney General? The administration wrapped up a series of very powerful decisions last week, including the nationwide injunction. Let's go through the importance of those decisions and how it impacts the administration.
Well, it impacts everything President Trump has done, his agenda, everything he's trying to enact under his powers of the executive branch. It blocked our tariffs. It affected our military readiness. It affected immigration. It affected our foreign affairs. It affected us eliminating fraud throughout the government. No longer. They were allowing district court judges to serve as emperors, basically, for the entire country. We've had 285 lawsuits against us. Of the 40 injunctions that have been issued against President Trump's administration, 35 of them were in 5 districts: Maryland, D.C., Massachusetts, Colorado, and Washington State. Not shocking to you, I'm sure, Sean, but no longer. It violated the separation of powers on which our nation's government was founded, and they cannot seize power from the executive branch any longer. President Trump now can enact his agenda. It was a huge win. We've had so many big wins recently for President Trump because the American people elected him by an overwhelming majority and the Electoral College. And that's so important because his message when he ran was crystal clear. And that's what he's able to enact now based on this great ruling with a 6-3 opinion authored by Justice Barrett at the Supreme Court. We also won transgender books, that parents have the right to choose whether their children have to read transgender books. I've seen some of these things. They are disgusting. No one would want to read these, especially a child in school. And now the Supreme Court confirmed that parents do have rights. That also came out last Friday. And as I mentioned before, we also sued last week Governor Walz in Minnesota for tuition for illegal aliens. You can't do that. Once again, these governors, these states are prioritizing illegal aliens over our students.
Again, that's a federal crime. So go slap the cop. Do your job. Because listening to her talk, to me, is now listening to Jasmine Crockett talk, where I don't want to hear a word that come out of your mouth. Do your job. Your job is to prosecute people who commit crimes, especially on a federal level. What they're doing is a federal crime. It's a federal crime. I'm going to sue you. You're going to sue them for committing federal crimes? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You got a guy who shot 4 people, 2 dead, wrote a letter to the FBI implicating Tim Walz. You haven't even brought Tim Walz in for questioning. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing here? I'm tired of the tough talking. Show me something. Yes, you're good for going after the underlings, but start going after the big fishes. What are you doing? You're tiresome.
They're treating our students like second-class citizens, and the Trump administration is not going to put up with it. It ends, and it ends now.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
You know, we've had Tom Homan on many times on the program, and he's talked about a dramatic increase in violence against ICE agents.
Yes.
Over 450%. I mean,
being
really
egged on by
numbers.
Democratic leaders,
if you
and
have
you're doing nothing
or
about
put
it.
out an application or a warning system that ICE agents are in the area, are you guilty of obstruction? Are you guilty
Yes.
of aiding and abetting in that
Yes.
case? And by the way, if you're a sanctuary state, does that status aid and abet just the very status of it?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what he's doing. And people obviously are ICE agents, all of our federal agents who are working hand in hand on these task forces, our federal agents from the Justice Department could be injured. He's giving a message to criminals where our federal officers are, and he cannot do that.
And what are you doing about it?
We are looking at him,
We're
and he
looking
better
at it.
watch
We're
out.
looking at it.
Because
All we're gonna do
that's
is
not
look
a
at it.
protected
We're gonna-
speech.
I'm gonna
That is
finger wag
threatening
it.
the
I'm
lives
gonna
of our
finger
law
wag it.
enforcement enforcement officers throughout this country. And shame on CNN. I just saw that for the first time when you showed it, that they're promoting that app. That's shame on them for doing that. That could hurt our law enforcement officers who are out there protecting them, protecting all of us every single day.
As the head of the
DOJ,
I'm so powerless.
Even drew any attention to it was because you were on the program. And I wanted to make sure that you did see it, because nobody watches CNN, to be very honest. And it's important that...
I'm starting to believe now, because you've got Tulsi Gabbard, who's been pretty much ostracized ever since Trump said he didn't care what she thought. She's been ostracized. You haven't seen or heard a peep out of her ever since then. That's been what, 3 weeks ago? And now you've got her just up here running her freaking mouth, talking all stern, but not doing a good goddamn thing about nothing. So now when I hear people say, yes, Trump doesn't have strong women in his cabinet, I'm starting to believe it to a degree. I'm starting to believe it to a degree, especially with Tulsi and her. Fire this chick. If she's not going to do her goddamn job, fire her. Fire Tulsi Gabbard. Find new people. Find new people that will do their goddamn job. Damn. I would have been fired both. I'd have fired her 2 months ago.
But it does, these things do get out there in the ether, and people do know about them, and people, there's a lot of chatter and social media, and I want people to know that if they're involved in this, they are putting ICE officers' lives in jeopardy, or if they dox the homes of ICE officers, that scares me too.
You got the
what
mayor
happens to them?
You got the mayor out in Memphis. He's doxing ICE agents, and we're looking into it. But yet, if I dox somebody right now, if I pulled up somebody's home address and info right now, they be banging on the door before the end of Friday, with the cuffs swinging. We're looking into it. Watch you say that.
That's right. You cannot dox you. We're finding you. People don't think that we can find you. We are finding you. We've made that abundantly evident by the cases that we're making. No longer will crime be rampant in our country, and we will protect the great men and women in law enforcement. I feel like, Sean, what has happened to this country where our police officers are out there every day? There's no ordinary day in the life of a police officer. They're out there protecting all of us every day. They're protecting CNN. They're protecting everyone. Yet these people are so against law enforcement officers, whether you're a candidate for mayor in New York City or you're some network of promoting an app. You're warning people about that app and
you're
not
doing
to
nothing
use it.
about
And
it.
thank you for that.
Defund, dismantle, no bail, let the criminals go free, and fire the cops and hire social workers. That's the platform of the Democratic Party. Attorney General Pam Bondi, as always, thank you. Great job. And also great job.
I'm done. Yeah, because I need to keep this under 2 hours so I can do the shorts. But man, I'm sorry. I have no faith in that woman. I have zero faith in absolute zero faith. She's going to have to arrest a sitting member of Congress for me to have some type of faith in her, because I just don't have it. I just don't have it. It's just not there. All right, I'll catch y'all. Let's see, what's tomorrow? Tuesday? I'll catch y'all in the morning so we can do because I want to get on the Jasmine Crockett thing so bad, because she just looked so dejected on the Roland Martin show. It was beautiful. Y'all be safe. I'll catch y'all tomorrow.
Demon King Satan, Satan,
nope, not
Satan, 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 Satan.
I actually felt retarded, like really retarded. I mean, I brushed my teeth retarded. I rode the bus retarded. Dang. In a weird way, I had to sort of just free myself up to believe that it was okay to be stupid or dumb.
To be a moron.
Yeah.
To be moronical.
Exactly. To be a moron.
An imbecile.
Yeah.
Not the dumbest motherfucker that ever lived.
And even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. No.
You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you.
And then I'm like, this baby motherfucker better not blow up by nuclear shit, or I'm gonna go loco on this bitch. And then he blows up all my nuclear shit, and I'm like, call my general. And they tell me, they're all dead, sir. And I'm like, assemble the army. And they're like, they're dead too, sir. So then I'm like, launch the friggin' missiles. And they're like, sir, they're gone, sir. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Damn, I know I shouldn't have called on this nigga. I shouldn't have called on you because you always trying to distract motherfucker. Fine, I'll answer your stupid ass question.
We have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Because Trump bad. Trump bad.
Get the fuck out!
All right, hi. Thanks for the fun.